Good morning, welcome to Secret London with me, Mark Munro, and today I'm in Wapping on the banks of the River Thames. And I've got a story to tell you. Follow me. Come on. London has a huge historic maritime past. Not surprisingly, as it was at one time the world's largest port. Now, up until the 15th century, life at sea was mostly a lawless affair. Debauchery, theft, pillage and plunder were commonplace among seafarers. However, after the 15th century, the Admiralty had had enough of this nautical naughtiness and decided to clamp down. And it was at the bottom of these stairs that many a convicted pirate walked his last steps. Welcome to Execution Dock. The reason that condemned prisoners were brought here, rather than, say, the Tyburn or the Tower of London for execution, was that the dock symbolised the Admiralty's jurisdiction beyond the low tide watermark, somewhere over there at the river's edge. The condemned prisoners would either be marched from Newgate Prison or Marshalsea Prison. If they came from Marshalsea Prison, they were paraded south of the river, over London Bridge, past the Tower of London, all the time being jeered and booed by baying crowds. And before they came to Wapping, they would stop at a local inn where they were permitted a quart of beer, no doubt to subdue their nerves and give them some bravery, but maybe to quell their stage fright, because the last hour of these pirates' lives, they would be treated as superstars. Executions at Execution Dock were box office. This was the biggest show in town. Large crowds would line the river banks. Many boats would be chartered and moored in the River Thames just to get a front seat at this gruesome spectacle. When they arrived, the condemned would take to the dock, which essentially was a scaffold for hanging. The hanging was a particularly brutal affair. It seemed to entertain the baying crowd as much as possible. The hangman would employ a shortened rope. This, in turn, meant the drop was not sufficient enough to break the neck, so the pirates died from a long and tortuous suffocation. During this asphyxiation, their limbs would spasm and kick as if dancing. This, as a result, was known as the Marshal's Dance by the onlookers. And as if that wasn't enough, the bodies were held in place in gibbets for the rise and fall of three tides. Now, these bloated carcasses were known as Whoppers and were held on display just to deter any would-be pirates that a life of piracy was something to be avoided. The most famous pirate to be executed here was Captain Kidd in 1701. On arriving at the Gallows, he was deemed drunk by the chaplain, but Kidd then went on to make a rambling speech protesting his innocence. After about 20 minutes, the hangman had had enough and stepped him off. However, the rope snapped and Kidd fell to the ground. He was then dragged back up onto the scaffold, dazed, confused, but still conscious. He then claimed divine intervention had saved his life. And the crowd believed that too. They were baying for his reprieve. But the hangman was having none of it. He put the noose around his neck for a second time and stepped him off again. This time he got it right, and the rope held. His body was then cut down, tarred to preserve it, gibbeted, then hung out at Tilbury Point for 3 years as a warning to passing ships that piracy would no longer be tolerated by the Admiralty. Thanks for watching Secret London with me, Mark Munro. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave any comments down below. If you really enjoyed it, why not subscribe or hit that thumbs up button. Until next time, stay tuned.